So this next session, we're talking about all the businesses that have grown up in Austria. Now, all right, excellent. So we've got a great group of people to talk about our homegrown success stories. So again, we're going to have Flo Kschwantner, co-founder of Runtastic, Katharina Klausberger, co-founder of Spock, Frank Westermann, co-founder of MySugar, Travis Pittman, co-founder of Tour Radar, and your moderator, co-founder of Pioneers, and venture partner at Factor 10, Jürgen Furian. Big round of applause for our panel.
Hi. Hello. Doe ze niet meer, please.
Yeah. Take the one in the middle. All right. It feels a little bit like a family reunion, I have to say. We all know each other for 10 years or so. I think the introduction is already done. Flo, you co-founded Runtastic, sold to Adidas. MySugar, 2017 biggest health tech exit in Europe, sold to Roche. Exit to Schibsted, you co-founded Spock, and Travis, congratulations, you just raised a whopping 50 million Series C round with Tour Radar. So it's going to be an interesting discussion here. Let me start with you, Kati. Looking back at the journey with Spock, is there anything that you would do differently? What's the advice that you would give to founders deciding to start a company out of Austria?
Well, with Spock, we built one of the largest mobile-first classifieds platforms globally. So I think we did a lot of things right there. But if I look back on when we founded the company, we started with a different product. And with the first product, we built a very big platform before we decided to go on the market. That's something, for example, that we did totally different when starting with the second product, with Spock. We started with a very, very lean product with main functionalities, went out in a very short time, and then developed together with the users. That's something I'm observing in the startup community as well, that sometimes people are trying to make it too perfect, and then they're missing out the opportunity to go out, to get the experience with the users, and to be fast, and to have a chance to be successful.
Are you observing this in general all over the place, or would you say this is something specifically that you see in Austria?
I would dare to say it's something that is a phenomenon with people with not that much experience hands-on. And it's something I observe in Austria, of course. And one other thing, I think that is specifically for Austria as well, is I think in order to have a chance to be successful, you need to have a big vision. You need to have a big goal on what you want to achieve. And you need to work for it. So it's not just enough to have the vision, I want to be the leading this and that in this field, but also to put in all the effort that's possible to achieve this.
You just came back from China, from a trip to China. Yeah. They are putting in a lot of work there.
Yeah, so it was utmost impressive to see how fast things are moving there. If you are thinking, for example, about electric cars. We're talking about electric cars. Some electric cars are launched by some traditional companies. If you're in Beijing, you're seeing many electric cars driving around the city already. And most of them are Chinese car companies. And the quality that you're having there is at least as good of the qualities of the big brands we're having here in Europe, for example, if not even better. They even have massage chairs in their car.
All right.
And thinking one step further, if you think of how long it takes to change a battery in the car, it takes 3.5 minutes and the car can drive again. So not even half an hour with a fast speed loading.
Frank, so you started My Sugar out of Austria, but you're now based in the US. How can you compete with let's say I'm an Austrian startup founder and have a rival in the Bay Area. Is there any chance to compete with them? How can you do it?
A very good question. I think you can talk hours about a proper answer to that. I think there are a few things one maybe should consider. So first, and I love to compare like what we went through with My Sugar to our rivals in the US. So when we made the exit in 2017, we raised 7 million euros capital, which was quite a good amount, I think, for us here in the German-speaking world, or maybe in the European world as a digital startup. But in the grander scheme, that's nothing, because our biggest rival in the US raised 140 million, and I think you can outsmart.
There was 7 million compared to 140.
7 versus 140. And so you
Slight
can
difference.
be smart like hell, but that gap, that's not really to be filled by your smartness. And I think that's of course a factor. But on the other hand, I think that when I look right now at the ecosystem here in Austria, access to capital, and also like the more mature ecosystem in Europe, I think it's totally doable to compete. And I think here this panel shows, it doesn't really matter from where you come, where you founded your company. I think Flo, you founded your company somewhere north of Linz in a sinkhole, basically, called Pasching, I think. So it really doesn't matter, it's not about location, it's about your mindset. If you really want to achieve something bigger, you can do it absolutely out of Austria. You just need to have the mindset, and that's, I think, maybe the biggest challenge.
Yeah. Flo, you can probably describe this Austria's #1 tech founder, and you're very visible in the community. When we talked about the panel on the phone, you said a couple of interesting things. You said that we are a little bit too spoiled in Austria because everybody basically gets funding. And the second thing that was interesting was that local talent, that's a challenge here. Can you elaborate a little bit on it? What do you mean with it?
Yeah, what I would say, what Frank just mentioned, you guys raised 7 million, the other ones raised 140 million. We raised almost no money at all, which was also a big advantage. My boss at Adidas, Kaspar Roster, told me, the good thing is having no money, then you don't have to think about where you can spend all the money. So what we did basically in the beginning is really, we figured out how to get a business model going, how to really make money from the very first day, and that was a big advantage over the long time compared to our competition. So they came in with their business models way later, had to figure out how subscription works, and all that stuff, we had an advantage there. What I want to say, that at the moment, there's a lot of money out there, the economy is doing well, and even as a startup founder, it's almost too easy, in my opinion, that you get money. Because what does that mean if everybody who goes out with a pitch and say, hey, I want to have some money, the valuation is crazy high, and you get the money, and you are not being successful for the whole scene, for the startup scene, it's not a good thing if we see that more startups fail and fail again. We need also the winners. And I think there's a big difference whether you get it easy, that you get going, whether it's a little bit harder. Because even the Runtastic story could have ended very early if all the people told us it won't work.
Yeah, but that also means that who is giving you the money, right? The person evaluating your startup,
Sure.
giving you the money. I mean, what's your take on this, on the landscape in Austria? Now you are basically in the position that you can give, you can feed back into the system, you can invest, etc. Should there be more entrepreneurs, doing that, because you're experienced, you've seen things and.
So I just talked to Katharina before. It's all about the team, the founders team. That's super important, and I think if we would have more of these great founders, which is not that easy, then it would also be easier to invest. And that's really something we have to create. That's the education system, that is our duty, so to say, that we're doing so. But I'm not sure whether each corporate or each big company now should have a startup fund or should have like an incubator, because I know it's modern, you get a lot of media attention at the moment if you're doing something with startups, but sometimes it doesn't feel right for me. Just doing that you have it in your portfolio is, in my opinion, not the right way. And we have to make sure that in Austria, the education system about entrepreneurship and all that stuff becomes a baseline in every education part, whether you're becoming an entrepreneur or not, but at least you should understand what does that mean.
Yesterday I was listening to a discussion here, and then one point of the discussion was, yeah, come to Austria, relocate to Austria because we have a wonderful public grant system and you get public grants. Now I know that Vantastic really used a lot of those grants and was part of the fuel that you needed to really grow. Looking back on that, what's your take on the Austrian public grant system? Is that the right means for startups? I mean, because you used it extensively, what do you think differently now?
So back in 2009, when we started, it was really, really helpful having those funds and getting this governmental funding. Was it easy? No, but fortunately, with the three co-founders I had, Alfred really took care of all this. You know, it was a lot of work, and nowadays I would say, I don't know whether I would do it the same way, because you always have to think about how much you invest for possibly getting some public funding, or you already get going with your product. It was super helpful. If I could say or advise, it would be good for the future if it's easy, it's objective, and you're getting a fast answer, yes or no, because then you can move on. But you should not rely on that, and I would not say to anybody out there in Europe or in the world, come to Austria because we have a good public funding system, because that's totally the wrong attitude in my opinion. We should convince people coming to Austria because first of all, we have a great country. We have a really livable city here, and I think the most livable city in a row for the third time. And other than that, we have to make sure that the good people, they are coming, they are staying here, because that's the biggest issue.
How do you do that?
Offering really international crowd and just also being open. It really starts with us, getting together with those people. I'm really curious, our new general manager at Fantastic now, he's coming from the Silicon Valley. He was there for 23 years. Last station worked for PayPal with a 600 people team, knows from Elon Musk to Ben Horowitz, Mark Andreessen, everybody. And he decided with his family coming to Linz for Fantastic. And I'm really excited and to talk to him.
He already relocated? He's already there?
He will come in a few weeks. But it's all done, so that will happen, trust me.
Well, I'm curious as well. Travis.
Yep.
Boy, you've been out there for a very long time.
Thank you.
mean, I guess it takes 10 years to build an overnight success, huh?
Yep.
It wasn't always that rosy. I mean, when you look back, can you just give us some insights, especially on the early years where you really had to put in? And then the question would be, would you still start your company out of Austria?
Good question. So, yeah, it's been 10 years since, so 2010 was when Tourada first began. And it was out of Spengergasse in the 5th district where I met a lot of you guys. So it's where the startup scene really came from. And it was different times, you know, to what it is today. The thing I will say about the public grants was that helped us. You know, we did actually, from FFG and maybe one of the other ones, we raised about 300,000 or 400,000 euros. It really helped us, you know, get off the ground and get some stuff done. It was a lot of work, you know, to actually do the reporting and do everything like that. I'd say today there's a lot more angel money in the system and more money available for early stage. Problem is now later stage. Yeah. Austria just doesn't have anything past Series A. You need to go outside of Austria to get Series B or Series C. The funds just aren't big enough to have that.
So when Flo is talking about there's a lot of money now available for startups, we're talking about really early stage money, not
seed
really
funding and maybe Series A, but then as you mentioned, then it's
after that, yeah.
I think even a good Series E is hard in Austria, and that's what you need in the end. If you're building something at the right point of time. So also timing and the speed of execution matters. So we need those funds for scaling, and I fully agree with you. It's not possible to find this in Austria. Luckily nowadays, so if you're really performing good, people from outside, from other European countries, or even from the US or China, are investing in Austrian companies.
Exactly.
But it's harder to get the attention at first.
Yeah, it's about growth, and one of the things I would say that we did quite well is that my brother and co-founder is in Australia, so we had to learn how to have separate offices. So we had to learn, how do we communicate, how do we collaborate, you know, what tools do we have, how do we, you know, do regular catch-up video meetings as a whole team? And I think if you do that early, it forces your company to execute and kind of work around the clock, so to speak. And that's something I'd really recommend anyone out there, if they're looking to really build an international startup, is to see a market, maybe the US, maybe in Asia, and force yourself to set up an office there. And actually find either a co-founder or someone who can be there so that you learn that stuff early in the days. And then if you're doing well in that market, it opens up investment and obviously partnerships and that sort of thing. And now nearly 60% of our revenue is from North America. So we're actually going really hard into the US, and we're doing it all from Austria. Like, you know, we don't need to physically be there. We've got an office in Toronto who runs the whole of basically North America for us. But you need to learn that early on. And now with TCV investing the 50 million last year, that was a function of our growth in the US because we were doing well there. It's our fastest growing market and our biggest market. So when you start to do that, people get interested. Yeah. So yeah, it's something I'd recommend for startups out there to think about earlier, putting a peg further away than Austria and outside of Europe, whether it's Asia or America, and see how you go.
Yeah. I see the clock. Oh my goodness, time is running here. I wanna, before we go into the audience questions, just a quick one to all of you, or at least I know Kati, Frank, and Flo. You're investing into startups. I would be curious, what kind of areas you are looking into? What's really interesting to you? Second, how can I reach out to you guys? And third, how do I get your attention?
Yeah, I start. So like the investment part of spending my time with investing into companies is certainly like a very exciting thing. We will very soon kind of create a founders fund from the My Sugar guys, and we are already doing investments. We love the healthcare space for obvious reasons. And ideally, something in diabetes, that's where we really kind of have an expertise, a great network. But, foremost, we love to invest into good teams, great people, people who really have the aspiration to build something bigger, greater than currently exists. And yeah, reach out to me. Just tap on my shoulder here or reach out to me via LinkedIn, whatever channel you find. It's easy to find my email address, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah, we started our investment company a couple of years ago. We means my three co-founder and I. And so we did about, I would say, 15 plus investments now. And in the area of technology, but also one of the latest I did is a Munich food company. So it's called Frank Juice. So it's really different areas. It's somehow, we try that it's not just a financial investment, it's more smart money that we can help with our network, something like that. How do you find me or us? I think it's also very obvious on different channels, but you have to be really annoying because I'm getting a lot of stuff and I can't do all that. Reading all those pitch decks, but...
So follow up.
Some people are really good in that, they grab you somewhere and they get it. So, and I really like that because you have to be persistent. Like in life, you want to achieve something, and this is it, basically.
Cool.
Yeah. We have invested in a few things so far, and to be honest, it wasn't that much on the roadmap until now. What I think is challenging is if there are really some teams, and it must be the teams because it's always the people driving the company that completely convince me that they are able to build something huge in an area where I can also contribute, and that I and my co-founder Armin can really help them to achieve this goal. And for this, I think I would be happy and willing to invest financially, but also really helping the teams to be a sparring partner with all the knowledge of building up a company in multiple countries, doing marketing in all areas, and product development, and so on. And team building, of course.
Of course.
Yeah.
I mean, feeding back all the experiences, the knowledge, etc., not just the money. That's I think super important.
That we experienced over the last
All right,
years.
we ran out of time. Don't have any time more for Q&A. So first thing, I found the question, do you have some steps how to build a winning startup really interesting? So if you want to know about this, just grab those people backstage or whenever they are running around. You have to be fast, some are leaving soonish. Thanks for the discussion, guys. It was great to have you back. And yeah, enjoy your day, I guess.
Thank you.
Thank you.